So, first success story is someone who signed up at one of the first events that I actually did when I went out and started. And one of the first events I did was a Canberra event, and David and Zoe, please welcome to the stage. They signed up with me in Canberra, didn't you?
We were very excited to actually hear you come and speak to us in Canberra, Ian. And we're probably one of the few that have actually heard your story, maybe, because, I mean...
Oh no, there's a few that have heard my story in detail, because at Gold Coast a month ago, a lot of people saw me in my underwear.
Right. Well,
a lot of them have heard my story, and the Platinums go, oh my God, more underwear, geez. So you did hear part of my story, yes, and you came along and you thought, this is for us, yeah?
Yep.
Well, about 8.5 years ago, I came over to Canberra because I needed more work, and the contracting work had dried up in Perth, and so I had a PPR in Perth, and I previously purchased a property in Cairns, which was a resort-style apartment, and whilst it sort of got me out of a few hard tax times, it sort of has never grown in value.
So you invested in all of it, the grapes, the trees, the whatever you could possibly invest in, you invested in?
Yeah, right.
And they're all being repaid right now, they're doing really well?
Well, they're being repaid, yes.
Oh, so as tax losses against the following gains you're about to make, right. So they're those tax saving incentive schemes that people put together, and then of course it all goes broke and you lose your money. Sorry.
Effective use of your funds.
And you're a little bit risk averse. You want to make sure the things. You're an accountant, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. And he got into those things before he met me. Slap to say that. So like David, he's more entrepreneur, and I guess those things at the time are a good thing. But yeah, I was very risk averse.
So you had your original PPR in WA, and you had your one in
Canberra.
In Canberra.
I decided that she was spending too much money on shoes, so I said she should buy a property.
So how much time did you spend at university learning about negative gearing when you did your accounting degree?
I taught you a little bit about negative gearing, that it was a good thing, and how to do the tax, and how to fill it out, and how you get people money back.
And structures?
Didn't really learn
much about
a lot about structures. Yeah.
So you're starting with 2 investment properties at 100% debt because they're cross-securitized against the rest of the stuff that you own. But you were diligent enough to pay off in your time your own homes, and so WA's sitting there with a tenant in there doing okay because it's got no debt on it, and then the other 2 they're negative geared, not doing much at all.
Yep.
So the first thing you do is you look at the possibility of what you can do on Perth, yeah?
Yep.
And then, because that's what you're thinking, most of the properties you're sitting on you can do something with. You realise there is something that you can do.
Yeah, I guess after we started going through the DIMFNA material, I used to listen to it going to and from work and trying to indoctrinate myself. And so we started looking at all the possible options of what we could do, and obviously one of the things that really took our fancy was property subdivision. And so we started looking at what we could do with the Perth block.
And obviously, Canberra with the dual occupancy or secondary dwelling, so you're going to put a secondary dwelling on there and then you'll get something out of that. So you come along, you go and you see Bob as well, and you join Bob's course and you join Mark's course, and you start learning as much as you possibly can, yeah? And because you want to move quickly.
Yeah, I guess after we first went to DIMFNA's one, we decided that this was for us, and if we're going to do it, we're going to do it quickly, and that we really should retire, in a couple of years. Sounded like a good thing to do. So.
Yeah, good starting position. That's a good aim in a couple of years. So you're going in there, but you're doing a fair bit of study. You're doing quantum. You're doing Bob Anderson. You're doing Mark Rolton, and then you go off, and because it's not enough, you also start doing some trading.
Yeah, just because we had spare time at night.
Yeah. So you're about multiple streams of income. That's what you're looking at the moment, trying to get multiple streams of income and doing that. So you do have some structures set up, and there was a couple of slides here. I'm not going to talk about them too much, but you can just discuss about what you're doing with the structure.
Yeah. So, after going through some of Dymphna's DVDs several times and working out what we needed, we've just started. I mean, we haven't got all that yet, but that's what we're heading towards. We've definitely got the green bit and a couple of properties set up now in that sort of structure, and looking to do a self-managed super fund that we're setting up shortly.
Great. So putting the education into action. So the first thing you've done is you've gone and drawn against your home loan, your own home, to go and do a cash lend, yeah?
Yep.
So talk about that.
So I guess when we actually went and did Bob's course, we actually were inspired very quickly to actually do something, and we were inspired that, wow, we can do something. And we actually drew down from our home loans, and we actually became a joint venture money partner. And that was, we had to get, we actually did the course in May, and we had our structure and everything set up. By July 17, we had a company set up, and by the 22nd of July, we actually had become part of the joint venture money partner.
So a developer that's associated network comes up and says, I need some cash to be able to do. I've got approved development, and I need some cash as JV partners. You bring the cash in. We'll give you a return of 28% per year. It's going to take 18 months, so a 42% return on the money that you're putting in. So you put $750,000 in, all legally tied up in a joint venture contract and everything signed up, right? So you're getting so from your $750 in 18 months' time, you're getting $319,000 returned, right?
Yeah.
And possibly because of the losses you've made in the past, you may not get taxed on some of that, right? Always handy to have those to make up time, right? But also part of that means that you have contracted on 2 blocks, yeah?
Yeah, so as part of the joint venture agreement, we were able to secure 2 blocks at 2.5% under the initial bank valuation, which was done in July last year. In about October or November, I think, there was a Collier's valuation done on the properties.
Yeah, and we'll go through those property valuations. So Co-op's doing a similar deal. You put your money in, you get a return on your money, and then you get access to the blocks at a cheaper rate than what the rest of the market would normally get. So you've done well out of doing that, and you don't necessarily have to take up the option, I don't believe.
No, that's the other one.
Okay.
We actually, we're signing contracts with this one, yep.
So you're helping the developer along the way, which is giving you the knowledge and understanding?
Yep. So we were pretty keen to actually learn as much as we could. So we said, any work that you can throw us, we're keen to learn. So with things like before there was a house on the block. Before that was done, there was actually disconnecting electricity and those sort of things that come up, and working out which side of the road the power is on, and if we need to get someone in to actually do traffic control and that sort of thing. The other sort of things is applications for street naming, and also I became involved in the house and land packages, and actually speaking to the builders, and just really loved learning and speaking to the builders and the real estate agent, and
finding out what the market wants, what the market's going to buy, so that we can build what the market wants.
It's great, and other than a renovation here or there, you've really not done any property development in the past. And so this is a whole new learning curve, a great way to do it, where you get a very experienced developer with good runs on the boards, and then you put your money in and they help you and assist you and sit by. I've said that's a good way to do it. A lot of them will say no. This one in particular said $750,000 worth of yes. So every fortnight you hook up with them, you have a review of what's going on. That's a
Yep.
great thing. So lot 10, you've contracted on, and you're simply going to take that on at the price that you're doing it on selling it. So that one there, you're taking it on at $810,000, and the valuations come in 6-9 months later at $1.2 million. So there's a $400,000 gain. You've made $319 from a lend. You've now made $400,000 almost from just flipping a property. Yeah?
Yep. And we haven't had to pay anything for it yet, so.
That's so tough. And the other one, so there's block 10 and 11, 10 and 12. So you've got waterfront or reserve frontage on the Brisbane River, which is pretty damn good. And you're doing well, but you're going to do a build on this one here, right? So numbers on this one are that you're going to put a construction on there. The total expenses will be $1.7 million, and that's a $2.4 million end profit. So sorry, end price. So it's about $700,000 worth of deal as well.
Yeah, this is from someone who's risk averse.
Yeah. There's a component of understanding knowledge and security in being able to know that you've got a contact with a developer and that you're actually working through that, and so I can understand.
Plus,
that's great.
the fact that we've gone out there and we actually have done the due diligence and talked to the real estate agents about what pricing is. I mean, these are, as you said, riverfront properties in sort of a pretty good location, and they're quite big blocks, so they're very high-end properties, as you can see.
I actually drove past this the other day myself, not knowing that they owned it, and I thought, they're doing pretty well there. That's a very good development. Okay, so that's those deals. So you've made 700, a million, probably 1.4, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 out of $750,000. That's a pretty good turnaround for that deal, hey? So WA, you subdivision potential in there, and you've got that through council now?
It's going through at the moment, just waiting for it to be approved. As someone else mentioned, WA, I think it must be the slowest state in Australia. They take their sweet time in approving it, but should be.
But essentially by spending, we haven't got the end value in there, but by spending a little bit of money in the subdivision, you're actually increasing the equity of that property. I think it worked out quite a fair bit.
As you can probably see from the picture there, I sort of liked trees when I first bought that place and planted a number. And I planted some in the backyard that were called Eucalyptus grandis, and I should have realised at the time that probably meant that they were going to be substantial. So now they're a couple of 100 feet high in the backyard and about like that around after 30 years. And so that was going to look at costing us quite a bit of money to remove. And one of the things that we've learned is to do creative strategies so that, try and get as much value out of what you're doing, whether it be selling the topsoil first or removing the trees and selling as wood chips or whatever. I got onto a miller who can come in with a portable mill and actually mill the timber because it is
on site,
a millable type of timber, yeah.
So the guys will come in, usually what they'll do is with big trees, nowadays they come in with a crane, they chop the limbs off the top and just drop them and put them straight through the chipper, and the larger pieces they actually cut, put on there, lay them on their side, and these guys come in with a mill and the saw runs through and creates slabs of timber. Amazing process if you ever get to see that.
So just looking for extra ways to get money.
Let's just hope they find no possums.
Well, the great thing in Perth, unlike Brisbane, where every tree is a sacred tree, we went to the council and we said, we've got trees, is there anything on trees? No, you can do what you like with the trees. Yes.
There's a couple of ways that you can get around this too. If you do have trees that you can't remove, get it approved. So some councils, for example, will say, well, if there's a tree within the proximity of your house that you can remove it because it's dangerous and could fall over the top of your house and kill someone. And so you go and get your plans approved and the house, so that the house is within 3 metres or whatever that council says, and then you go back to the council and say, can I take that down? So planners won't allow you to do it, but then the tree people will because of the insurance and safety that happens with that.
I think with that one as well, Dimna actually, because it was actually purchased pre-capital gains tax era, being the Conservative accountant, I was always saying to David, we can't do anything to it, we can't, we're not going to do anything to it. And then when we came along to Dintner's boot camp, we learned, oh, okay, we can do something with it. So,
and it could, depending on the ATO, be capital gains free completely.
So just with the backyard, because previously we hadn't set up things in trust and done all the right things, like Dintner said. So with that one, we'll once it's at its lowest value, which will be once we've subdivided, we'll set up a company in trust for the back one.
And sell the land to it so that
Sell
you
the
pay
land
what
to
you
the
need to
trust.
pay at that time, which is a smaller amount of stamp duty and possibly no
Yep.
capital gain. Okay, Canberra, this is the house you're living in, you're putting a secondary dwelling in, you've got a price there of $185 to do a secondary dwelling. I'm just asking whether it's got gold line pipes in it, because that's a lot. And that's a figure that you've guessed, and we talked about it last night.
Yeah.
You should be able to, nowadays, pull something in easily under $120,000 to do a 60 to 70 square metre secondary dwelling at the rear, and if it's only you two at home, I'd consider trying to chop up the house so that you can bring it down to $60,000 or $70,000. So have a look at the plans of your house if you can live in a smaller area of the house, and then that's a cheaper way, and you'll get good passive income coming from that as well.
I think with that one as well, I don't know how many Canberra people there are in the room, but when we actually came along and started learning about, places that you can actually do developments and subdivisions and splitters, it would always be like, oh, okay, what can you do in Brisbane? What can you do in Sydney? What can you do in Melbourne? And, what can you do in Canberra? Not much. And so I was actually, this is at the beginning of the year, I was actually just walking up our street, and I saw a house in the backyard of another house, and I was like, oh my goodness. And I ran home and I told David, and then we looked at the zoning, and it's the same zoning, and then just ringing the planning guys, and I actually made the mistake of saying, oh, can I subdivide? And they said no. And then I thought, oh, well, that's up there.
You asked the council? Yeah. And that's number one where you should probably ask a private town planner, or go and find the application of that house, find out who the applicant was, or the town planner or surveyor, and then ring them first. And if you want to ring council, but you won't need to after that.
But when I
We're still newbies, we only learned
we're
last year.
I'm just making the point, because in Canberra, you saw Jason said fairly flat market. Camille, who's a platinum and works with us as well privately, 200, 300k out of your little development there, $200,000 out of a 3-unit development, old house and 2 new units on the back of it. And $200,000 is good in anyone's pocket. Yeah, everyone would agree on that. So, come and spend it with me. So you then have contracted on, but you can still pull out of 3 house and land packages.
That's right.
How are you feeling about this at the moment?
We being very risk averse, and I guess one of the things that, if you're going to get into anything at stage 1, and this was stage 1, and it's 6 months, we've put a deposit in, which I made sure that I can get it, it's fully, if we want to move out of it, not going forward, and we can get out of it, and it's like, yep, you can, and I was like, okay, well, I'm okay with that level of risk. I guess it was sold on the, pretense or the vision that what's going to happen with that land is it's going to grow. By the time it settles, it's going to, you're going to have really great equity in that property or those properties. We've been researching just, looking at sold prices in the area because it's, 6 months on. We haven't seen much of a growth in those properties. And we actually, in that area, we also actually did a bit of a Google search on land. And we saw a block of land that actually had been sold for $300,000 that you could put, 6 houses on. And we're like, oh, what are we doing? Putting our money into something that we can actually manufacture growth ourselves.
Because you're buying an end of the product line.
That's right.
And that's okay for some people. You've made a lot of money out of the first development, and you could possibly go into it if it was cash flow positive. And that's a rental estimate. What I would be asking is going into, and in that council, will they allow a secondary dwelling? And incorporating, instead of doing a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, do a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, and a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom incorporated into the same house. Now, you've got to be really careful with this because it may be allowable in that council, but if this development was approved in an old planning scheme, they may have a covenant over the whole area, and I'm not saying this in particular for you, but for everyone, that won't allow you to do the secondary dwelling. So whilst you might be able to on the same block just down the road, but in that development and that estate, they put a covenant over the fact that you cannot do it. So you'll go through this and you'll do it. So you're greater use of wealth. What are some of the things you're doing to help out?
Oh yeah, so we sort of realised that things are only going to probably get worse in terms of, you know, retirement age and a whole pile of things that are going to be a lot harder for our kids as they grow up. So one, we've got that's them all up the top, my 4 kids. I've got 2 boys, 2 girls who are all, 3 of them are married and one's getting married in January, and 5 grandchildren with 2 on the way.
Grandpa.
Yeah. So,
So it's sort of a family, and we've seen a few stories where you just want to pass on to the family.
Yeah. And also
Can I take on? I guess
That's the first.
our passion, like we actually, David's, all his family live in Perth. And one of, I guess when the burn factors, what I wanted to share here, and this is actually a really important slide, because when you're actually deciding what you want to do, you've got to decide what drives you. And like we often get home at 7 o'clock at night and we do property development stuff, like we get into property development stuff, you know, an hour for dinner and then, no hands, an hour for dinner and then we do property development stuff. So we're pretty exhausted with what we do. And so to drive, okay, why are we going to work so hard? And one of the things is so that we actually can go back to Perth, because being risk averse, I said to David, darling, Perth is boom or bust, and you know, I'm a bit scared to be in that environment, so I actually want to be doing something that we can do in any state. So that's where property development did put a burn in our, like, what we want to do, and actually to, you know, so we can spend time with grandkids and David can have the little grandchildren, the boys, out in the shed and, you know, making things with them. So that's probably part of our passion. The other passion is giving back to, I guess, when I was actually thinking about this, is, you know, the passion of where we live in an amazing country, and I just think about how I love shoes, and I buy shoes very cheaply. And
don't worry, I love shoes too.
And really, you know, there's many people in less fortunate countries that actually are the ones that actually provide us with that because it's cheaper labour. And we're, in a position where we can give back to them. And I think as well, even more, the more you're educated and the more that you're given, the more you want to give back as well. And so we actually have some compassion children that we're quite excited about. And actually quite a few children. Because we don't have children of our own, we thought we'll get some, you know.
Not anymore.
We don't,
Let's get on.
Yeah.
I think the advice is don't have children.
But the exciting thing, I just want to really share this, because it does really make a difference. In 1990, the amount of people that were actually below the poverty line was 43%. And in 2011, from, you know, people being, a lot of it, partly us being generous, people, you know, learning how to substantiate for themselves, in 2011 that's actually reduced to 17%, which is really encouraging that people in the Western world are making a difference.
You know, I think sometimes when you see all these things on the TV, you think, I'm just going to pour money into a bucket that's just got no bottom in it. But the truth is that we are addressing world poverty, and the more that people like us that can be fortunate and give back, the quicker that we're going to resolve that worldwide.
And I think that's one of the things that we also loved about when we came and did Dimphna's boot camp, is that she's very much about giving back as well. So we were very excited about that. Yeah.
All right, so your main advice here is take action, and fear can be, which you may not be able to read there, forget everything and run is the acronym, or face everything and rise. So let's have a look at what you've done. So since signing up in Canberra with me in 18 months, you had an equity increase of $1 million, established total equity increase within 24 months once the projects are finished of 2.867 million, with an established cash flow of over 32,000 at 7%, because you're an accountant and you want to make sure there's an uprise. So that's pretty damn fantastic. Round of applause for them. Last words for anyone here?
Yeah, I mean, I guess some of you sort of probably look on and say, oh, that was easy because they had a fair bit to start with. But I think as the weekend's gone through, you've seen people that have started from negative, you've seen people that have started from zero, and you've seen people like us that have at least had something to start with. I think the real take home from that is that it doesn't matter where you are. If you start and you head down the road, you can do it. And really, the biggest thing that you have to conquer is this, and that when you make a decision, and like the previous speaker, you need to have a dream, and it needs to have a burn to the dream. And when you get that dream and you get the burn, and you have reason behind what you're doing, and you stick at it, then it really is possible for anyone to do it. But that is a huge hurdle that you have to come over, because this is fighting against you all the time. To say, oh look, you know, you're a bit tired tonight, just go and watch TV. You can do that later. And that's the biggest thing you have to overcome. If you can overcome those things, if you can get the education, like we had at the beginning there, education, get the facts, make sure you do it properly, and then use that to really just focus your thoughts. Every Sunday night we sit down, we plan our whole week. Hour by hour, we know the things we have to do, like going to work, when that's going to taken up, but lunchtimes are there and we can do stuff in lunchtimes. Zoe's ringing developers and builders and stuff at lunchtime and what have you, and so we just plan that whole week out. That way we don't always achieve what we plan, but if we don't plan, we hit what we're aiming at, which was no plan. So if you plan, you'll hit it.
Okay. I think for something that's amazing is to actually get a strategist is one thing, and also surround yourself with like-minded people. Like when we first came along to Dimpness boot camp, Stephen Tyne from Canberra, yay, he took us under his wing and said, yeah, come to the coffee club, and we all talk about development, and which is really exciting. And I think, if you are risk averse and scared, many advisors make victory sure. So you can actually, if you have a good strategist, like I've just amazed the Knowledge Source strategists, how much they've actually helped us. Because I thought I knew what I needed to know about our position, but they're amazing. Yeah.
All right, huge round of applause for these two.
Thank you.